Quay greetings. Welcome to another video. Thank you for watching. We're really going to not do a long video today because it's a morning video, meaning you gotta get to work. So, um, I want to jump on. Um, we want to talk a little bit more about this African Union. It is early in the morning, and so we're gonna try not to rant and rave too loudly. Uh, so, yeah, we want to just get a little more clarity. I had the feeling that I think we're just need to get more clarity. And so let's just leave it at that. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll just let the ancestors lead. Thank you for watching. So we asked the question about the regions of the African Union. Who came up with the six regions of the African Union? Um, okay, so that's where we're going today. Uh, AI Overview answered the five established regions of the African Union were defined by the Organization of African Unity, OAU, in 1976. So we did talk a little bit about this in the last video with a similar question thrown out. Okay, so the concept of the sixth region. Now, the sixth region is where they're talking about the African diaspora. Okay. And so let's finish. The concept of the sixth region representing the African diaspora. Okay, we want to look at this. Indians, American Indians, whose idea was this? Well, it was an idea that gained prominence in the early 2000s with President Olusegun Obasanjo. Olusegun Obasanjo, later advocating for its formal recognition within the AU's structure, the African Union's structure. So, as an American Indian, I would have an issue with Mr. Obasanjo, and it boils down to this, American Indians. The more serious we are about the reality of identity theft and misclassification, the more serious we are about this federal this federal offense against American Indians that we would have to chalk up to an act of genocide, political genocide. Americans are being put in a category, a political category that leaves them. I talk about this all the time. Very vulnerable, political, shaky. You're on a very shaky foundation, and on top of that, you have a commerce clause that allows Congress to claim what they call, we talk about it all the time, plenary authority. That so we're in a free country that allegedly, right? And the way the Commerce Clause is interpreted, we have like a dictatorship within what they're calling the free world. And that dictatorship is only guard to one group of people in the Americas. Now, Congress will have their dominance over the immigrants, but when this dominance is placed over the indigenous, so-called indigenous people of the land, it is just, again, it would have to be chalked up to an act of genocide. As American Indians, we may not have a lot to say to speak up for immigrants who came here and established themselves under this corporation. In a way, that is their fight. I really think American Indians have to sort of take some kind of a back seat on that. We're doing too much. If we try to be a voice in that uh, dilemma, our concern is what's going on with this foreign corporation and how it looks at us. So basically, when your immigrants came here, you were giving them what you call unalienable rights. What you refer to as basically the Bill of Rights that was meant to keep them from ever being subjugated under a monarchy as they were when they first were dumped here. Okay, so you are providing a legal framework for immigrants. But in the midst of that, you are establishing a complete and total author authoritarian dictatorship over American Indians. When you interpret your Commerce Clause, you're saying that you are in charge of all decision making with regard to American Indians. And here's that part that American Indians don't like. And that's the part when Heru asks you for the umpteenth time Do you think you would design a constitution where you are allowing a foreign corporation acting as a government to rule over you with unlimited authority? What American, so again, American Indians, I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you to your get your position, know your place. The more you claim that you brought this upon yourself, you are telling Congress, yes, I designed this government so that you can have complete domination over every possible move I make as an American Indian in a tribe. You see, that's the interesting part because technically speaking, if you caught my drift in the last so many videos, we're making a distinction that this commercial dominance is really over what they're calling Indian tribes. But then, of course, as Congress would, they are flipping that into federal civilized tribes. So actually the Constitution, unfortunately, the way it's written, it's indicating that no matter what kind of Indian tribe you are, Congress is going to dominate you. But when you get to the nitty-gritty of it, you realize Congress realizes, well, we better limit that to federal civilized tribes because in all practicality, in all lawfulness, can't just boss up on indigenous people in a document that's supposed to be talking about what liberty and justice and free persons. So somewhere the masterminds, although they put a free grab over all Indian tribes, because they're just, in the Constitution only says Indian tribes. It doesn't say federally recognized tribes. But again, in actuality, what Congress is claiming complete and total domination of is federal tribes. What they did with the uncivilized, non-federal tribes members is they started to call them black. So they just made them actual wards in the states. They're in their states. People that are there and don't have uh, uh, any legal backing to any legal legitimacy to even be in the state. So in other words, we're just allowing you to be a thing, but here's the thing, you're going to be the recipients of the police, you know, doing what they do because really you don't have any legal, you're not an Indian, a federal Indian tribe, you're not a free person, right? So those are basically what the Constitution is speaking about, Indian tribes and free persons, because Indians not taxed are not supposed to be in any of this. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, Indians are not supposed to be under any domination by this corporation. But what the corporation is hoping is that with your misnomer black, you, as an American Indian not taxed, will also fall into that unprotected ward situation, ward of the uh, states situation. So they have it's a grab. You are transforming the random Indians who are no longer in tribes. And we want to say the tribes are key because the corporation realizes that groups of Indians will definitely be involved in some kind of commercial, like not large scale, but they're going to require some kind of commerce. Whereas a single person, American Indian not taxed, they're just going to be too afraid to step into that legal standing because they don't have tribes, they don't have guidance. We don't teach civics. And what we do teach is all about how everybody's a United States citizen and these are what citizens can and cannot do. They totally overlook the fact that Indians not taxed were never meant to be citizens. But they're just, in other words, you're just hearing a whole narrative about how this corporation has dominance over everything and everyone, no matter who you are. They say there's only two guarantees, right? Death and taxes. And they drum that into an Indian not taxed head. So they're basically ignoring. They're ignoring the Constitution, guys. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about uh, how the United States corporation is ignoring a whole entire uh, indigenous people called Indians, and then they're in America. So by extension, since the Constitution doesn't really specify, we know that it should be American Indians they're talking about because those are the people that are going to be, you know, left alone in a state all around them without a tribe and just this allotment. Now, the government was going to try to say that because you have an allotment, that means you fall into the state. But what they're not trying to realize is that that allotment means that I used to have a tribe here. Somehow, if I wasn't an Indian that moved out of my Indian territory, I had fellow Indians here before you enacted the Dawes Act and you broke up my tribe. So this allotment is not something you gave me. It is something that was mine and you broke it down to a lot. One little small lot that used to be a whole stretch of land for my tribe. So you're trying to say that because you broke my tribal land to an allotment or a lot, that I have to pay you now because, oh, how are you going to come up against the big bad wolf putting you under duress to pay taxes when the Constitution says you're an Indian not taxed by anybody? Was what the senators we read about said. Okay, so that is our rant about American Indians and how the corporation treats them. So now enter this president, Obasanjo, and we're kind of used to the corporation grabbing us and genociding us, but we have someone outside of this country now, and he is saying he's going to go with the narrative of the corporation in the assumption that we're African. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, he wants formal recognition of this sixth region, which is the diaspora. So the five geographic regions, northern, southern, eastern, western, and central Africa, were established by the OAU in 1976 to group the continent's member states. The sixth region the sixth region is a term used to refer to the African diaspora, a population with ancestral ties to Africa who reside outside the continent. The concept of a formal recognition of the diaspora within the AU gained momentum in the early 2000s. Several leaders and organizations have championed the idea, including former Nigerian president. Oh, well, he's the one we just read about. Olusegun Obasanjo. The African Union has since recognized the African diaspora as a significant part of the continent's present and future, formally incorporating the sixth region into the AU's framework. So it's not the five other geographic regions, northern, southern, eastern, western, and central Africa, that are significant. It is the sixth region, which is designated to the African diaspora. That means you, my nigga, you, you American Indians who think you who you're playing with the idea that you have ancestry in Mali, let me tell you, you will be up for this elimination, okay? Are you sure you want to keep having Mali on your mouth? You are delusional. How can I forget my favorite word? You're a delusional American Indians, or you are Moors who are trying desperately to tie us to Africa while keeping one foot planted on what you call someone else's square. Yeah, these are the people that talk about standing in a square, your square, and they do anything but stand in their square in Africa. So the African Union has since recognized the African diaspora as a significant part of the continent's present and future. They're depending on you, American Indians, for their future, their present and their future. So you have one continent that has made you least of all things living and breathing and seen as a man or a woman. You are the least as an American Indian. Why? Again, they have made you a ward of the state because blacks, coloreds, and Negroes are nowhere mentioned in the Constitution. The other thing is, when you look at how long this has been going on, so the formal recognition was in the early 2000s. What I'm trying to say is now we can see how very much in common Africa has with the corporation. We've been groomed by the corporation to believe that we're African. Africa comes along, and are they going to correct the lie? No, they're not. They're going to jump on that bandwagon, and in the early 2000s, they are going to. So we have one doing the uprooting and the other doing the transplanting, the work of transplanting us. We have a corporation that plopped itself on our indigenous ancestral land. They've been, for ever since they got here, it's just been a slow uprooting, discarding. And so now, as of the 2000s, it's time for Africa to do its part under the entity known as the African Union. So I thought this was an interesting uh, graphic here, so I thought we'd look at this. Oh, okay, stop playing with me. All right, so understanding what the sixth region of the African Union is, or African Union. And there's your visual of how Africa is grabbing. It just looks like a bunch of hands, arms doing the grab, right? Key places in all of the Americas. And they got numbers here. They are, again, legitimizing the lie told by the corporation. Indians, it's time to do your declarations. And as I always say, try to do a personal one because your personal one is going to, you got to say everything you know about who you are. And then you got to say, I'm sorry, we didn't say this in the last video. I'm going to say it now. The best way to explain it, you're going to tell this corporation and anybody who needs to be told exactly how you identify. You're going to get as much information as you can about the tribe you were from. If you were in a civilized tribe, you're going to say, I am no longer choosing to be civilized. I never had to be. I shouldn't have been to be on my own land if I'm an American. That means the Moors in your family, they're now going to have to make a critical decision. Are you a Moor or are you American? If you are a Moor and you're pushing Islam, you need to go home. Say, I'll see you when you come visit, but you're an American Indian. I married into your family. I overstepped my bounds. You all confused with being African. It wasn't my place. I was just going by with what my colonizer or forefathers told me. Okay, so you're going, what you need in your declaration, I'm looking at images like this, and this is what is coming up. For me, you certainly have the choice to do what you want to do. I'm just suggesting part of your declaration, you're going to say all you know about your American Indian heritage, not your Mali heritage, if you're an American. You're going to say everything that predates Mali, okay? Because you do, if you're an American Indian. But another element to your declaration is you got to protect yourself from American Indians who still think that they are beholden to any laws or statutes or codes, rules, and regulations of the United States. You have to declare that you are not bound to any of those, so you don't need to call them up. The thing you need to talk about is the doctrine of discovery and how it has been repudiated and how it alone is the sole document upon which the corporation fashioned its genocidal laws against American Indians. Do not deal with any other documents because, as I said, they are all informed by doctrine of discovery. I'm talking about the United Nations. I'm talking about the American Organization of States. All of them are going with a post doctrine of discovery narrative about American Indians. They are starting off seeing you as basically a civilized Indian. They should have started off seeing you as the first people of this land, whether you were uncivilized or civilized. It is your land, and they don't have any say over you. None of these. American Organization of States, we don't know who. Well, we actually do. Sorry, oops. Both of these entities, the American Organization of States and the United Nations, are creations of the corporation. That is all you need to know. Everything the corporation creates is looking at an American Indian as if he's something to be dominated. That is why you can't go with their laws. They looking at you. Before you can read me, you got to learn how to see me and then free your mind of all that bullshit you thought. So our declarations have to do two things. They have to disengage colonizers' bullshit, but they also have to disengage American Indians who still think we need to call on any United States or any international laws or any biblical uh, unctions. Remember, American Indians, you didn't know anything about a Bible until Columbus came here. It is not your obligation to have to go by the Bible. I know some of you think that that's the worst thing in the world. I would differ. I would beg to differ because I would say the worst things in the world happened to American Indians after we were introduced to their Bible. So American Indians who really want, you see, when you do something, unfortunately, if you're going to do it in a manner where you don't want to have to keep putting out fires, you don't want to have to keep returning to address things you didn't address at the get-go. You have to get completely out of everything colonizer has brought to you. He brought you a Bible and you lost your land. Isn't that what they said? They have. If you're an American Indian, you will always have access to anything you are seeing as your higher authority. And that entity does not require you to sacrifice anything living. That was not something American Indians were into. I'm very sorry. It came, the whole idea of a sacrificial lamb came with colonization. If you were already doing it, they really had no reason to call you a heathen if that is what they're about, sacrificing things and bloodletting. If you were doing that, they should have said, well, they're doing their version of blood sacrifice, so we're good. No, they said, if you are sacrificing to so and so, but you're not sacrificing to so and so, then you're doing something wrong. As I always say, if you're doing the same thing the heathens are doing, what is the difference? They just if God is just a spirit and everybody's calling him different names, if they're doing blood sacrifice like you are, then why are they heathen? We ain't even gonna go there, y'all. You just gotta know, okay? You just gotta know. I'm just no, no. We don't have to keep, splitting hairs, splitting hairs. God, this is the morning. I ain't had my coffee yet. So, this is the grab, y'all. And again, what are we seeing? What we're seeing as depicted here is first it was this entity that did the initial work of the mass mind programming about a transatlantic slave trade. But what we're seeing now, once again, the real culprit is the finisher. The starter, it can go either way. Okay. The finisher is solidifying this and actually taking action based on the lies that this is our what we know to be our motherland. Both of these. So we're not talking about you, mama. We're talking about the beast that has been raping you right in front of our eyes. Okay. So that beast, it initiates the lie. It mask mass promotes the lie in Hollywood, in music, images, literature, all of that, right? This entity is now going to actually take action based on the lie. This is why American Indians declarations are, key. Uh, you have to tell both of these entities that nope, that's not me. I don't know who you're talking about, but if we do have, unfortunately, if we have Indians who are so African oriented, this is the time for them to start thinking about being swallowed up by your mother, okay? Your motherland, right? She wants you back. And she, as we read, you are, what was the word? Uh, you're key to her future. You're gonna have a lot of work to do, okay? You civilized Indians who are also from Mali, this is your This is your destination. Just get, all you got to do is embrace what you've always been saying, what the Moors been telling you. When they grab you off the continent, the Algonquins get to get their land back. I have to say, however, that I think the goal, part of their goal might be to have some authority in America. You know, America has always been the target. So they're just going to have you basically making that conversation you have about being from Mali, they're going to make that a reality in your life. And what's going to happen is you will, as the real American Indians wake up, they're going to have to take their land. And you're going to be the thing that's saying, well, I'm American, I'm African, and the American Indian is going to be looking at you like, oh, well, that's why I'm the authority on the land, and you are something that thinks you have authority. But your real motherland is Africa, and it's just a matter of time. It is just a matter of time. Africa needs you, y'all. The African Union needs you. And now, again, we want to put in our disclaimer. We certainly must take into account that this is not every single African. The people are the last to know. It is the leaders of these unions and those kind of grabbing uh, type of entities that we have to be concerned about. Okay, so when you picture the African Union, you might envision a map neatly divided into five regions: North, South, East, West, and Central Africa. But there's another region, one that transcends geographical boundaries. That's a grab, y'all. It's the sixth region. Mm. This isn't a landmass. I know it ain't. You'll find on a traditional map, but it's a force to be reckoned with. Remember, we said we don't want to deal with things that are not really uh, material, you know? This is sounding like that to me. This is giving me fictitious vibe. You want to deal with landmass, especially when you're an American Indian who's being denied your land. So this African Union, they really do not understand, or maybe they do fully. Uh, American Indians don't have time for things that don't have geographical boundaries. That's where we're at right now. We don't have any geographical boundaries because we're being genocided off the land. So you can keep your transcendental boundaries and regions and dimensions. You could keep that. But I see that once again, it is only these diaspora people that are being fictionalized. Now, the five other regions, they have boundaries. You see, the sixth region is the mystical magical, right? We got to stay away from mystical magical. It's a force to be reckoned with. It's the African diaspora, the vast network of people of African descent living outside the continent. It's in other words, it's the biggest hijack you'll ever see done in the history of hijacks. The sixth, what is the sixth region? The sixth region isn't just a symbolic gesture. Here we go with symbols and uh, transcendental what's the word? Transcendental boundaries. Y'all know what I mean. Uh, it's a symbolic gesture. It's a formal No, it isn't just a symbolic gesture. Yeah, they're making it very real. Uh, it's like real fake, real fake news. It's a formal recognition within the AU structure. It encompasses millions of people with ancestral ties to Africa. Well, why don't you just grab the whole damn world? Because isn't that what the out of Africa theory is saying? But you never try to grab the whole world, do you? You are focused, you're very racially focused, right? But you say we all from Africa, but you ain't trying to grab everybody. They good, right? So again, we have the initial beast taking everything away from us. So now Africa thinks we need help because the beast, the original, beast that's actually on our land, it is stripping us of everything basically that gives us any power. And here comes Africa at to play Superman because we have been now stripped of dignity, our birthright. We're just up for grabs. And who's grabbing? Is it Europe? No. Is the Caucasian trying to steal your identity? He can't. So it encompasses millions of people with ancestral ties to Africa residing in countries around the what? Oh yeah, we going full psyop, aren't we? The globe. This includes those born abroad to African parents. Well, you could take those, yes. Descendants of enslaved Africans. Now you're talking fairy tale. This is where you are continuing the lie. Well, we talked about the name of the last video, the African Union, a continuance of colonization. This is what we're talking about. Colonizers saying that we were grabbed up from Africa, but we know that's a lie now. But here's the second beast to validate the first beast. The and recent immigrants, yeah, yeah. Well, those would be yours as well. You can take them all, except these imaginary descendants of enslaved Africans. We were enslaved American Indians. And on top of that, we were indentures. They had no use for actual slaves, but indentures come with land. Do you, I hope that you're getting this, American Indians. You were never just slaves. Slaves are of no never mind. And they're not a threat in any way. And there's no need to, when you're a slave, you're the lowliest thing there is. So you don't need to be further made low. There's no reason. You're already the lowest. But if you're an indenture and you have land that you are working because somebody said you owe them something and they're trying to get at your land, that's what an indenture is, y'all. So the indenture is working for the person that claims to have some kind of lien or you owe them something. American Indians do not owe their colonizers anything. And I think they try to use wars, alleged wars between Indians as the deciding factor that an Indian owes something. So let's say the Iroquois are in bed with the corporation. So the Iroquois stages or engages in some kind of war with Algonquins. Colonizers on deck and ready to help steer who won the war. We probably don't ever even know who really won, to be truthful. You know, But anyway, so so a war happens between Iroquois and Algonquin. Let's say the Algonquins lose. The Iroquois are going to go with colonizer with the notion that now these Algonquins owe us. You see? So whereas a war between two Indians, it's not a debt owed, really. I mean, you took my land, you got my land, boom. I'm guessing that's how a war would go if Indians are fighting for territory. It's not that I mean, if you take prisoners or whatever, that could also be, but that's not a owing thing. It's a conquer thing, you know? If you won the war, I don't have what do I have to pay you with? You know what I'm saying? Um, you've already taken whatever you were gunning for. You're, you know, it's something like that, you know. But I think what we have with the corporation is this idea of owing that, uh, so now the loser owes something, you know. So you want me to pay for the expenses you incurred to wage a war against me. You want me to pay for what you had to pay for to come from. I get this is what it's seeming. I'm thinking that's the logic behind this, y'all. I just it doesn't make too much sense to me that the loser owes something to the victor. I, I mean, when you take it to the street, two people are fighting. Okay, you beat me up or whatever. Boom, you won that fight. What do I owe you? You know what? You're probably going to steal from me, but if you make it like if you're making theft legal or trying to make theft legitimate, you're going to say I owe you. But do I really? You bought me. I'm vulnerable, and now it's like taking my lunch money. You owe me your lunch money. But do I really? You see, so just things to think about because this whole idea of losing and owing, it's a colonizer thing. But we know that the indentures were already set to lose because of that land that they owned. Okay. So then, okay, so you win the war with another Indian. They take over your land, but they don't want to work the farm. They're going to have you work in the farm. And you're not really getting paid because they're going to say, well, this is what you owe me. So, so it's just a bit convoluted. Okay. So I'm just trying to say that we were more than just slaves. You don't fuck with slaves because they're already fucked. You don't, you don't have to kick a dead horse, as they say, right? It's the indenture that you need to be concerned about because that indenture, you're saying that they owe you and they're working and they have the land. You're going to try to put them in debt so you can take the land. That's what I'm trying to say. With an indenture, you have a motive to make them owe you so that you can take their land. And that is exactly what happened to Algonquins because the civilized tribes are already in bed with colonizer. So it's just a matter of using these civilized Indians to gain more land for colonizer because then what's going to happen is the real black Indians, quote unquote, we're going to call them black because they're acting like colonizers. So we can call them black. So the black civilized Indians are going to go underground because they don't want the retaliation directly like that. So they're going to replace themselves with Mongolians. and they're going to go on these black Indians of the civilized tribes. Really, they're being run by Moors. When you ask them why are they doing this to their own people, because the Moors are instructing them to do so. And I guess some kind of promises of financial reward have been made. And then perhaps, oh, well, now, France is open to you because you're part of my family and you're part of the royal family of France or Britain or Spain. Look at our coat of arms, and the American Indian this kind of American Indian would have to be not like an elder. You know what I'm saying? As we say, colonizer really are into children because children and young people can be misled. They don't know the value of what they have, you know, and I think I told a story about one of my early lessons on having something that I didn't think was valuable and somebody asking me, could they buy it from me? And but they really, in other words, the condition of the thing was not so great. There was a bike. And so basically you'll say, it's like the idea is this is a piece of junk, what do you want for it? At the time I was into G.I. Joe, whatever, and I think the choice was like $10 or $20 or GI Joe or something like that, and I chose GI Joe. Okay. And he took my bike. Okay, a bike for GI Joe. We know that there's a problem already, right? He would, one is typically a little more valuable than the other. Okay. But at the time, I didn't know how to fix a bike or whatever, so it really, I guess as a kid, you know, I didn't think that it would, I thought it was a piece of junk at the time. I'm young, okay? I wasn't really thinking. So I remember one day after I made this sale, this trade, I'm outside with my GI Joe. And I think it's a GI Joe that came with like a shark or something. I don't know, some GI Joe with some little gadgets. And I'm there with my GI Joe. Then I see my friend or ex-friend whizzing by on the most bodacious, fabulous set of wheels. I'm like, where did he get that? Uh, he had turned my rusty, dusty, crusty Apollo. It was a purple bicycle. So it was a rich, dark purple. It was beautiful when I first got it. He had redone it. It did it. I looked at that bike and I looked at me and Mr. G.I. Joe looked at each other, and it's like he said to me, you got to be a damn fool. Like the G.I. Joe literally read me. And all I could do was look at that G.I. Joe as a tear rolled down my face. I I never wanted something back so bad at that time. I think that's the day I stopped playing with G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe died that day in battle. Uh, his little play battles at whatever. And I do believe at that point I had to go to my mommy and yeah, know what I wanted now, right? Yeah. What my mother was like, well, you should have gave it. If I'm recalling correctly, it was like a more like a hard lesson, It was a hard. Because of course now my mother's not too, she's like, well, you gave away your bike. You wanted to do it now. Why you want a bike now? Da, da, da. You know. Well, I did get a 10 speed later because this was not a 10 speed. This was like one of those almost like what do they call it? Like a chopper. It was like a trail bike, a mountain bike. I don't know. It wasn't a 10 speed style bike. It was more like I forgot the word they call it, but more like a chopper, which is, those are always the nicer bikes. The 10 speeds were kind of whatever, but at a certain age, I think we prefer, it's a smaller bike than a 10 speed or whatever. But anyway, back to this nasty work. So this includes those born abroad to African parents, descendants of enslaved Africans. I mean, how do you build on a whole lie? That's how you know not the African people, quote unquote, citizen. It is the leaders of all of these different countries that are in some kind of, they make a union and then they make sub-unions, blah, 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 blah. They're a diverse group with a shared heritage. Really? And a vested interest, huh? I have a vested interest in Africa's future. No, you know, I don't wish you ill. I certainly do not. I just don't like when I'm being grabbed, y'all. When you look at that last video and we got all ratchet and raggedy and stank face, why would an American Indian get like that? All my life, I had to fight to know who the hell I am. I finally figured it out, and now I'm hearing that some foreign country, it's like it's overstepping bounds to say at one point they say it doesn't matter if you're a citizen of another place. You are descendant of Africa. That is sort of like your transcendental no geographic boundary thing. That is a ideology that you are building on that you really shouldn't because it's unfounded. 20 some odd Africans, and then all of a sudden it's millions and billions. Come on, give me. So when they say that, what they have to do is match the number of Indians that are already in the Americas. They got to make you think that, okay, so now we have uh 10 million American Indians in America. So what we got to do is say that 20 million people came from Africa. So that's a grab, y'all. When they got to match you. No, like, first of all, why do you need that many slaves? Y'all got to think about this for a minute. The number of slaves, I mean, it seems like it's too many. It, but what they got to do is make it seem like every Negro that you see has to be from Africa because we took this many. But when you do the numbers, even the somebody did a breakdown and they were showing that it's the numbers don't make sense. I forgot how they did it though, so we're not going to waste too much time on that. Um, it's just one of those. It's just like when they say that Abu Bakari came here and it was like what did they say, 2,000 ships, and you wonder who. That is a massive. number of people come. So you want to give the impression that you are populating a landmass so that will think, oh, if that many people came to that means they all came from Mali. That if 2,000 ships came from Mali, why would you send so many of your people to a foreign country like that? Because you want to give the impression that you are uh, like terraforming that landmass. You are populating that landmass. Forget about the people that were already there. If I'm telling you that 20 billion people came from this continent to that continent, first of all, you got to ask why are so many people leaving your country? What is going on there? You're saying you're the richest, the best, the blah, 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 blah. Why would so many of your people want to leave? I would be like, no, I ain't going, no, like I am right now. Like I am right now. I have zero interest. People always ask me, why don't you travel more? And you need blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'll admit, I'm not crazy about flying. Uh, ships, I'm not necessarily. I don't think I've ever been on a huge ship. I've been on a boat, and the boat did not go that far out. And I think it was more like a lake, not the actual ocean. I don't, if it was, it was just something that it wasn't no major thing, but I can honestly say, and then some people criticize you for that. It's like, oh, you need to get away. You need to see the rest of the world. Blah 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 blah. First of all, the way uh let's say commerce is designed in America, we don't have time to do all of that. It's people that live in Spain, I hear the it's a very relaxed shall we say, they ain't slave driving them people over there like the corporation does over here. So then they would say, well, that's even more reason why blah blah you get away and blah blah blah. No, no. It's expensive too. So the corporation ain't trying to like make me Donald Trump or nothing like that. It's not like that now. It's just that, American Indians don't tend to make what other people are making. You just have to say it. Just tell the truth. So no, but yeah, there are some people who are just more given to travel. I'm not one of those. I don't I and me if it's a character flaw, oh well, I'm a flawed man. I like to think that I'm more on the happy side of being home. Uh I do I would like to go to places in South America because I'm very, curious about the history now. Um so I, I wouldn't be one of these I would not have been in one of these massive, you know, like this Abu Bakari thing. That wouldn't have been me. If I have all these riches at home and all of that, I just don't think I need to go some place I've never been before. Don't know what's over there. The psyop is that, well, Africa had all this wealth. Okay, so then stay home. If you're that wealthy, why are you leaving? Because it was a lie, y'all. I really now think that Mali got its wealth from South America. And that's why Columbus came. I think that was partly why, because, if this trip took place from Mali, uh, I, you know, I believe that what started what we might call the gold rush. Now we read, it's not me making it up. We read in the Naming of America by Descend Debris or something. I forget. I let me see. I do have to look. Okay. By Descend Brie. Discovery of the origin of the name of America. Now we read a passage from here. I think, did we? Oh man, did I not do it in the video like I wanted to? Because I did a version of the video, but I didn't post it, I don't think. But we read about the riches found in South America, unsurpassed by any in the world. So that includes Mali. And this is at the time of the Spanish conquest. They knew about Mali, and yet when Columbus came here, they described that I'll put it in. I'm gonna have to later put it in the comment section. What a direct quote of the riches that were found that were unsurpassed by any in the world, and whose roads were the most stupendous. By the historian named Humboldt. He described what South America was looking like at the time of Spanish conquest. But anyway, so I think riches were taken to Mali. That is my best assessment. Um, that's how Mansa Musa became so wealthy. Is just how I feel. I mean, he might have had some of, whatever Africa has, but he increased it. I think in this, if there was this expedition, I think that's what it was about. I really do. So, uh, they're a diverse group with a shared heritage and vested interest in Africa's future. Hmm. Why is the sixth region important? Why is Sixth Sense important? Yeah, because you got to be able to sniff bullshit. But okay, why is the sixth region important? The African diaspora is a treasure trove of talent, skills, and resources. Oh, I thought we didn't have any culture, but now we got talent, skills, and resources? What kind of resources? They contribute significantly to their adopted countries. Oh, Lord. Please, I'm trying to be respectful. I'm trying to be respectful. This is pissing me off, though. I wasn't adopted by this country. See, this is okay. I'm going to say it here because that's what I'm building up to partly. This is why, for someone like me, I have to really go to the history of South America. Now, North American Indians, some of them are leaning toward it's all about North America. And we don't want to hear about the Caribbean and we don't want to hear about South America. But you see, when you have an entity like the African Union, you better find your deep roots a little deeper because that's what you have to come back at them with. And what I want to how I'm going to debunk this whole entire thing we're looking at right now, I know for a fact because I did the video on this subject. I did a video. Okay, let's tone it down, Haru, because that's not how we flow. That's not how we roll. But that is my most watched video. This video. That's why for me it's the video because that's the video that got the most views. And that's when I got my wake-up call in going to get information to do that video. That's when I got my wake. I realized, oh yeah, America is way older than Africa. Hands down. That's why you find me talking about South America. See, American Indians, they got to understand the method to the madness. Your brother Haru is serious, okay? When he's laying down them roots, ain't nobody gonna be able to dig up, okay? Still water run deep. I'm a water sign, whatever. So there's nothing that this page can tell me about me originating in Africa. It's just not going to happen. Okay. Okay. So that's why I look at this and I realize the world is running with a lie. And I always knew sort of, I did another video where I talked about it, and again, I got very disrespectful, and I couldn't help it because I it revolved around the idea it's one thing for a Caucasian to get it wrong. And honestly, I expect a Caucasian, I expect a Caucasian to get it wrong when it comes to American Indians history. I kind of expect them to get it wrong because I think, I just think that they are literally one of the younger groups, ethnic groups. They they get a pass, and y'all, I know y'all don't like when I give these passes out. I I take it more to heart when it's a people that I think should know better. And the way I said it in one of my videos was, okay, a European may not know the history of an American Indian, or they've been told other, other than, but there is absolutely no reason for historians in Africa to go with a lie so easily. I don't see it. I just don't see it. They are the other half of this huge two-part lie. So the corporation is going to lie. Yeah, I get it. We, again, you would understand this kind of situation. But for Africa to jump in on the lie, American Indians stand alone. And they got to be careful who they listen to, especially when they're being told that they have some connection to Africa. When I know for a fact my ancestors predate any African civilization. I know this as a fact. So I look at this and it just makes me think again, Africa is really, this is more egregious for Africa to run with this lie than it is for a European to. This is the one that people may take, onlookers may take more seriously because they're going to think, well, Africa must know something about this. So let's say Europe was lying, but Africa, if they validating this lie, then I guess it must be true. And that's when American Indians have to take a strong stand. They won't be able to move you, American. I'll tell you right now. You literally have to believe the bullshit for them to be able to even touch you with this bullshit. No is a powerful word, and even I need to get more in touch with it. But it's definitely a strong NO to this bullshit. It's one thing to genuinely ask for help. It is another to take a sort of entitlement because someone is taking ownership and then you're supposed to help me. No, I'm not. No, I have no obligation to any foreign country. And as an American Indian, that goes even double because as it's not just Africa that's going with these lies. We know that, right? I would have to say I would have to know that the United Nations also goes with these lies, just as the American Organization of States do. That's why American Indians cannot run to these places. All of them are, they don't see you, they don't go by what you're saying. They're going by what colonizer says about you. Okay. The African diaspora is a treasure trove of talent, skills, and resources. They contribute significantly to their adopted countries. Hmm. While maintaining struggle. This is my country, okay? If I'm contributing anything to a country, it is my own. This is not my adopted country, African Union. While maintaining strong ties to their ancestral homeland. Ha! That's the civil. You must be talking about the civilized tribes. That's okay. See, civilized tribes. This is what you're gonna get. Ooh, ooh. You better become uncivilized, Algonquin. That'll help. That's really gonna help you. I'm telling you. Algonquins are not considered civilized. What are the civilized tribes? Look up what the civilized tribes consist of, and you will find that they're not Algonquin. They're claiming Iroquois and Muskogee, and the only thing that you're going to come close to being sort of like the civilized tribes is the Lenni Lenape and whatever Canadian uh Algonquins that are out there. They're just something else. These, you know, they're not the woodland Algonquins. I'm going to say that they are somehow, they're not as consequential as the mainland. When I say mainland, I really mean main, shall we say, region of Algonquins, which is in the Eastern Woodland. The Eastern Woodland is the war ground, and that was dominated by Algonquins. But then when colonizer gets some break off, that he gives them an opportunity to be the big dog in the house. But they have to create these confederacies of mixed linguistics. Algonquins didn't have a mixed linguistic. They were all Algonquin. As someone said, they were a family, quite literally, more of a family. Whereas the confederacies were you getting foreign intermarrying with foreigners. And then the foreigners are telling them about their history in Mali. This is something I see so much. That's why I talk about it so much. And I'm going to call it out because that is the evidence of Moorish infiltration. The mere mention of Mali, which is so strongly an Islamic country, it has more written all over it, y'all. So that's why I always let these civilized tribes know, y'all are, Mali is calling, baby. Mali is calling. We're looking at it right now. The funny thing is, it's going to be a dilemma because a lot of these civilized tribes now, so this is a trick of the black Moors, because the civilized tribes now don't even look African. But it's the real, it's those ones that's trying to get the remnant Algonquins to become civilized as well. So that's when they show their black face. But really, the black ones have gone on to what they would consider bigger and better things within the corporation. They are famous judges, they are all up in Congress. The few that, really show dedication, extraordinary dedication to the lie. They rise up in, I guess, all the all the industries, sports, music, blah blah blah. I just think that's what we're seeing when you know, a lot of the, very, I would say, perhaps the people who really make it in up in this uh United States, shall we say. I think they are remnants of the real civilized tribes, the black ones. Okay. Um, really should read all of this. So let's see if we can quickly. Uh, okay. Let's take a break. I shall return. Let me see. We are back, and due to time uh constraints, we will read the rest of this, I think, at a reading, but you can read ahead yourself. Let me see. It's not a lot, but yeah, I'm going to have to get prepared to leave for for the job. Um, so let's see. Where did we leave off though? Yeah, it's a global network to benefit. Okay, something about our ancestral homeland. Recognizing this potential, the AU established the sixth region to harness this global network. Moors are the ones who are interested in these global, one world or worldwide. You just have to be concerned with your landmass, as American Indians well know, because that's usually what your colonizer is grabbing into his global economy, his global order, his United Nations. The United thing, it's not what American Indians are bargaining for at the end of the day. Everyone needs to mind their own business, their own business, even in business, right? So when you're trying to go global, what you're going to find is it's always going to require some kind of leader, and that leader or that group of leaders, we don't know what their underlying motives are. We don't know where they came from, to be quite honest. If they're not homegrown, or even if they're home, quote unquote, grown, we don't know who grew them, right? You know? So I, American Indians, we can't be a big proponent of all of these unions because, as we see, none of them had our ever had our best interest. You could fool yourself if you want to about this American organization of states that took place in South America and including the Caribbean. You can fool yourself if you want to, but I know that when they call them states, that it's your colonize that's your colonizers thing. I don't know if America, I don't know if it's just, is it the civilized tribes that had taken to these states and making all Indians think that we live in states? What were they before colonizer came? That's what it is. Even the linguistic map would do better than states, even though I have issue with the linguistic map. I think they're minimizing. Yeah, I think all the land that is that the civilized tribes are on, that's all Algonquin land. It's the only thing that makes sense, y'all, and that's just I'm going with my gut, and it hasn't really failed me. It only makes sense that colonizer would want civilized Indians on uncivilized Indians' land. There's just no real other way to see this. It's very convenient. What that means is your colonizer figured out what land he wants and he put those Indians there. Okay? He does not want to deal with Algonkins. The first Indians he saw here, he don't want to deal with them. He diminished their authority. He sought to reduce their authority and says, "No, I'm going with your quote unquote enemy. I'd rather go that you here telling me where I can go on your land. But if I get with your enemy and I cause some war between the two of you and I make sure he wins, I get to take all your land along with your enemy. And then I get to boss up on your enemy. Little does he know." So when the Iroquois bitch and moan about they got done too, I have no sympathy really. I don't. Now, if you get out, okay, maybe we can have a meeting of minds at that point, and I mean get out. What would that look like? It'd be somewhere in the Iroquois land and the five civilized tribes land, which is not their land. It would be we ain't civilized no more. We're not going to march around here talking about how we treasure our ancient Mali or anything like that. I don't know if that'll happen, y'all. I'm just saying that's the only way I see that because the new thing now is America only belongs to American Indians and nobody else. Not Moors. We see where they originate from. Are we going to turn the blind eye to that because the Moors, sweet daddy is in your face, grinning and skinning and looking whatever? Or like how people went all mad for these Scottish people. It's like, or it's like, is that what's going to happen when Sweet Daddy Moore starts speaking in that irresistible what do you call it? Accent, and then yeah, yes, just come on in, come on in. Yes, I know that Mali is an important part of my heritage, and I accept it, and I really want to learn more. Just keep talking with the Scottish accent. That's just tell me more about Mali. We can't have that. We can't have that no more. Sweet Daddy can sweep you off your feet and take you to Scotland, and y'all can live that life over there, or in Mali. It's up to you. But no, you can't just hobnob on American Indians' land now. Just so only your only connection with the American Indian is so that you can somehow be here and uh claim what is ours as American Indians. It doesn't belong to Moors. You got to remember Moors willfully encourage the world that America's a new world. They they put that narrative out there because they were trying to make Africa the origin of everything. This is what a Moor did because their beloved Mecca is over there as well as their beloved Mali. So they want those places to be known as firstborn. This is why they're not American Indians' best friend. It's just that simple. Okay, so um the sixth region isn't just a symbolic thing. It's got a mission to bring together the African diaspora and the continent itself, to bring together the African diaspora and the continent itself, to create a win-win situation for everyone involved. Hmm. Yeah, that's what Indians were. I think that's what the civilized tribes were told. And we saw how that went. The AU's powerhouse, the Citizens and Diaspora Directorate, the CEDO. It should be pseudo. Within the AU, the department that handles all things diaspora is called the Citizens and Diaspora Directorate. These are the folks in charge of making sure the six regions' voice is heard. Did you hear me? Did you ask me? Because you would have got a big fat no. You sure that's my voice? Its potential is tapped. And the connection with Africa stays strong. No, you can't live on two continents, people. I don't know if you figured that out yet, especially when you have blaring issues on the continent that you're actually on. You don't go running somewhere and think, that's the solution while your house is on fire, like Martin Luther King told us, right? You better be doing all you can to save your house because once that's gone, and the way these folks is grabbing, it's not a good look, not a good combo. They're like bridge builders, connecting two massive communities separated by oceans but united by heritage. This does not make sense to me, yo. I'm sorry. Am I, uh, you know, the party pooper? I don't know why this is necessary. The way I see it is American Indians have issues on this continent that if they don't address, they don't have a home. It won't be two continents. Number one. Number two, same thing with Africa. And again, theirs is worse because apparently their leaders, we tried to say this before. I'm going to try to just say it in a more, I don't know if it's going to come out sounding nice or pretty. I'm trying. But their leaders are not capable of handling their business. And that's why they are reaching to a quote unquote diaspora. What I'm seeing, and this is not against the African people, this is the leadership. What I am seeing is incompetence or colonizing grabbing. It's either one of those two. Nothing else. Nothing else. You think that getting more cooks in your kitchen means that you will be able to serve up a better dinner. And I'm saying the minute you have to invite other cooks into your kitchen, what you're saying is you can't handle the job. And then what is the point of you being? If you can't pick up your pieces where you are, you don't need a sixth region, is what I'm saying. That in a nutshell, let's cut to the chase. The African Union doesn't need or shouldn't need any diaspora because the diaspora, number one, that's a lot. That's a misnomer. That's a lie. We did not all originate in Africa. And they talk a big game, but what it's going to boil down to, it's only going to be the delusional Indians that fall for this bullshit. And they will be grabbed like they always are grabbed. They get promised something by a foreigner, and like the younger me, they don't know the value of what they actually have. They lose it. But now they just have to dance to the drummer's beat of the colonizer to save face and to hopefully make some colonizer dollars because you don't let colonizer in so much that you can barely, you're not even really, I don't know what to call it. You have no political clout. You're here on If a civilized tribe, you're dominated by Congress. Congress makes all your decisions. You say yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Or you're underground as a black ex-civilized tribe member who's now masquerading as African, and you're trying to you're down now with colonizers' dreams of global domination. So you don't even you're not your eyes are set beyond the landmass known as the Americas. You trying to have America, Africa, Europe, China. So see, that's another thing. These people that used to be the real civilized Indians, the black ones, the real black Washita, or all of that, they got tricked by colonizers to think the colonizer is literally when they say somebody promising you the world, that's literally what the real civilized Indians fell for. That's the line that got them. Uh, yeah, they were the 30% of disagreeables or dissatisfied that the Book of Yaqub, Father of Mankind, is talking about. And then the solution of the 30% of dissatisfied is to genocide 97% of all Negroes in the United States or in the Americas. Yeah. Make it make sense, y'all. Make it make sense. Uh, how the AU six region global set steps up to the plate. Plate? Mm. Hmm. The AU6 region global is like the turbocharged engine of the sixth region. The AU6 region global is like the turbocharged engine of the sixth region. It's a platform designed to get things done, except make you help you become the American Indian that you really are. Think of it as the hub where the diaspora can come together, share ideas, make connections, and build projects and benefit both their communities abroad and the continent itself. Somebody is needs help, but it's just interesting how they go about making it like that is an obligation because you're of the African diaspora. Just say you need help. You don't have to misclassify people and genocide them off their land. Here's how the AU6RG is making a real difference. Economic powerhouse. If facilitating trade deals, so that's Morris written all over it. Morris written all over it. Attracting investments and supporting entrepreneurs both in the diaspora and on the continent. We're talking about real money flowing back. Wait. Back is implying that some money came out. And again, we looked at the list of the quote unquote poorest countries in the world. So you looking for money? You mean you talking about colonizer monopoly dollars, fiat dollars? That's what you want? Oh boy, there's a value issue going on here, y'all. Indians are the real ones, the real serious ones are talking about land over money. So this wouldn't work for them type of American Indians. No, we know if by now American Indians should know the value of land versus the value of money. Like I said in the last video, money is something that you will always be paying out. Land is yours. You won't be giving it to nobody. And actually, if somebody wants your land that badly, they can compensate you however you want to be compensated. It doesn't have to be colonizer dollars. So money is fleeting. Money is very fleeting when it's owned by a Federal Reserve that expects to get a profit and which dictates their, I guess, interest rates or their, uh, brain gain, making it easier for skilled professionals from the diaspora to share their knowledge and expertise with African institutions. It seems like it's a little more it's all about making Africa great again. And I don't say that you shouldn't make Africa great again. I just think that that's a job for Africans. I honestly do. And to even need something foreign, that is erroneous. That is the stuff colonizers' dreams are made of. Oh, you're a poor little country that wants a big daddy to help you? Okay, step aside, son. Let daddy do it for you. You're inviting colonization. And that's the last thing you should want because you claim that the white man did this to me. Yet you in 54 seats in the United Nations with all kinds of white men. Seems like somebody fell in love with their rapist, if that's what they saying it was. I don't think it was a rape. I think it was who the baby daddy. That's what I think it was. Who is the baby daddy? Who is the baby daddy? Who civilized who? Let's say it that way then. That make it more. Who civilized who? Who came first? So that's the relationship. Okay. And who's seen as the quote unquote undiscovered new world? Okay. So that means you outside of that relationship, that father-son relationship of Africa and Europe. And truth be told, every place outside of the Americas. Policy push. The AU6RG is giving the diaspora a louder voice on the global stage. Oh, they're going to give us a stage, advocating for policies that benefit both Africans at home and abroad. It's interesting because I believe Americans are the target, but I did a word search and you are hard pressed to even find the word America in this, all up in this. Yet clearly it's African Americans that would be these considered really the core diaspora, right? We're the way that Africa can claim that there was some kind of wrong done to Africa, but you came and stole so many of our Negroes, and that just hurt us permanently. But it was a trade anyway. Cultural connection. Wait a minute, we missed something. Benefit both Africans at home and abroad, like fairer immigration laws and economic partnerships. Fairer immigration laws. Who's immigrating though? Oh, maybe they want I don't even want to even perish the thought. Perish the thought. Uh-huh. Cultural connection. It's not just about business and politics. Oh, okay. Finally, not about business and politics. Okay. AU6RG is all about celebrating the rich culture. I thought we don't have no culture. You telling your people that we don't have no culture. And they're all over the YouTube streets. Saying that we don't got no culture. Celebrating the rich cultural heritage of Africa. Oh. See, y'all, do you not see sort of like a grab here? It's making you African. That's what this union is doing. So I guess they act like, well, the diaspora happened, but let's pretend like it didn't, and you are all African. So it's all for the rich heritage culture of Africa. Building the connections in favor of Africa and Africans everywhere in diaspora. But who's called African except Americans, though? They so it's a big grab that they try not even to mention you because they just. But yet somehow I feel the target, y'all. Somehow I feel American Indians are up for grabs. Again, we had one beast uprooting us, and now this one is blindly grabbing. But wink, wink, okay? Wink, wink. It's all Africans everywhere. Well, y'all got the Scottish Africans are right nearby, you know. Yeah. Notice they said ocean. Okay, so that's a hint. The ocean away. Because the Africans in Europe is not that far away. So who's the target? That Africa is connected. Basically, some have asserted that it's all one landmass. Africa, Asia, and Europe. Excuse me. So who's these mysterious otherworldly diasporic quote unquote Africans that you're talking about, but not talking about, but talking about? Why this matters. Wait a minute. Community building. Sorry. Oh, yeah, we read that. The Bill's relationship. No, community building. They're creating a space where people from the diaspora can connect with each other and with those living in Africa. This builds relationships, understanding, and a sense of a shared purpose. We can't even get American Indians to agree on this continent. How are we going to get? Why am I even thinking of this? But snap out of it, Heru, snap out of it. You're being sucked in, swallowed. Why am I even trying to entertain this? But I'm just saying it's so impractical. It's all you need is the internet to go down, and all of this is going to fall to the ground. Okay, and lately the internet been acting like it's trying to go on vacation. Internet said, "Look, you be working me every day, Daddy. I am tired." My internet been so janky lately. I don't know what I'm paying for. I don't know what I'm paying for. Got me looking at the thinking of purchasing this thing that they say, oh, you got the internet everywhere. Just push this button and then boom, you got high speed, blah blah blah, and you know it's a lie. You're gonna get it, but your internet is so damn bad that I'll try it. It's just what? How much is it? Damn it! And for a week, that shit's gonna be the fastest internet you ever had, and then all of a sudden, it's just like there's this freaking uh, 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 internet graveyard that all internet connections go to. They just you get them when they're new, and then just lead you to the sunken place every time. And it's like that it's I know sometimes conspiracy can go too far, right? But how is it that we keep hearing that these the 4G has been sped up with the 5G, and now you can't tell. I swear, right now, you can't tell 5G from 1G because they're both going the same way. 5G is nothing. I don't know what it's doing. But I just this pet peeve right now that I'm just really thinking about. It's like you have to have. I guess they're going to make it where you're going to have more than one internet service because it's when maybe they want it where you have to have more than one because they're always going to do some throttle necking is what they call it. giving data to someone else. I don't know. They have ways of doing that. I think in the cable business, what it was is if you say now I have files and my neighbors have files too, but I have the cheap package and my neighbors have like the super premium, extra premium, king, queen, uh, King Kong, uh, you know, setup. So what Files does is say, this little dude over here ain't paying quite enough. How about we suck out his internet and give it to King Kong purchaser over here who got the premium this, the premium that, supreme being this, the da 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 da. And that's how they do their own customers to cater to the ones who are paying more. So it's like, okay, so you don't want me as customer if because you got Big Daddy Warbucks next door to me or whatever. So his internet is always going to. I'm going to get eternal circling, right? All right. This is how they do it, y'all. This is why I don't see I don't think I was ever really a corporate minded individual. I think I'm too busy sensing the real motives, you know, the sale pitch that is just that, pitch. And then you get the product and it's very spectacular for the first few days or something. And by the end of the whatever year or whatever you like, this is like the last shit I had. This is like when I had dial up. It's just it's really tiring, it's really annoying. But anyway, why this matters to everyone. I'm sorry, why this matters to every African everywhere. See, they're even calling the diaspora people African. It's just a blatant disrespect for all the roots that you have, even if you were a diaspora, right? It's like all we see is you as an African. That's why I think it works. It's supposed to be like a one hand wash the other. You have to be how I guess they're aware. I guess these leaders in Africa are very aware that American Indians are facing major discrimination. So it's like we're being seduced to think that, oh, once you join Africa, you're gonna get some respect on your name. Um, but you're gonna have to be called African. So then the United States could really stomp your ass out, and maybe you come running over here with all them resources you got, and you know, yeah. Well, to me, it's not appealing because, again, like I said, it's one thing for me to be under domination by foreigners and I know their objectives. For me to go to Africa and with the understanding I have as an American that Africa is not seeming to manage their own people that well, and somehow they're making the poverty list. So why should I think your leadership will benefit me when your people, those are your own people? I would think when you have your own people running you should be doing much better. You know what I'm saying, y'all? So you would have to show me that. And again, I don't know why this is the Libra in me, y'all. This is the Libra. Got to think it out, weigh it, and even though I already said it ain't, it's a big no, right? But no, there's a Libra trying to bear with the diplomatic part of me. But if you can't manage to uplift people that look like you, I don't see how me coming over there is going to change that. You're the leader. As you know, the people you are calling to be the diaspora, these are just regular old people. They're not politicians, unless there's some politicians out there, the Indian politicians that drink the coffee too. So I'm going to come to you and I'm going to be under your leadership, which I'm calling into question. See, something is not working for you guys, and that's all. That's what I'm seeing. I mean, it's cool that y'all going to do a union thing with, with the African countries. That and nobody could have a problem with that. Although, ultimately, I think all these unions are leading to some kind of world domination. That's what But this thing where no, I don't think it should be done this way. I don't think you should be calling to a diaspora as if they're just African. For one thing, they're not African at this point, and although you keep referring to them as African, they're not African. Even if they were diaspora, they're not African. So you not acknowledging that is a red flag. I think it's a red flag. That's just me, though. Okay. Uh, okay, so it's about recognizing, wait. Whether you're living in Paris, London, or Los Angeles, the sixth region is about you, but you're not even mentioning me. It's about recognizing the immense potential of the African diaspora and harnessing it for the greater good. The potential of the Africa. What about the potential of just people in Africa? It kind of throws me off when they looking for some potential. And potential for what? You don't have no potentials? You're the leaders. How did you get to those positions of leadership? You have potential to lift your people up. Your people, not some janky diaspora that is unfounded and no proof of anything. It's about recognizing the immense potential of the African diaspora and harnessing it for the greater good. It's about building bridges, not walls, and creating a future where everyone with African roots can thrive. Think of the sixth region as a giant family reunion. Oh, Lord. Oh, breathe, Peru, breathe, breathe. All right, all right, all right. Um, everyone brings something unique to the table. And just like a family reunion, there's always good food. That's debatable. We have good food here. I thank you. Thank you though. There's always good food, good music, and a whole lot of potential. There's that potential again. A whole lot of potential. Oh my gosh. It's like you could hear something. So what's the takeaway? The African Union, sixth region, isn't just a fancy title. It's a game changer. With the AU's support, the organizations like the AU6RG leading the way, the African diaspora is becoming a powerful force for positive change. So if you've got African roots, get involved. This is your chance to be part of something bigger than yourself. Become a member. Okay, so when we look at this next slide, please don't be mad at me. I'm just gathering information. I'm like a reporter. Yes, okay, I'm slightly biased reporter because I've been genocided, okay? So give I have to compensate for the genocide and I have to be staunchly American. But I'm hearing about potential and how valuable the African Union leaders think uh, the diaspora is. And then I have to see this. Now we updated and we're not going to really read a lot because I got to get off soon. But this is the top 20 poorest countries in the world, 2024. The first thing that pops up is that what you see on the screen. Okay. And so what is this source? Focuseconomics.com. Uh, and this is their findings. But the last time I looked for something like this, I looked at several sources and they were all very similar. This time I didn't look a whole lot of sources, but so there you see. Oh, see, this is why the Moors are claiming North Africa for some reason, because they're saying sub-Saharan African countries continues to dominate the list of poorest countries. What are the poorest countries in the world? Now, the list has changed a little bit because now they have the number one poorest is Afghanistan, but we just looked at here and they're saying sub-Saharan sub-Saharan Africa continues to dominate the list, okay, of poorest countries. But okay, so let's look at the list. Afghanistan is the first. Now that's not in Africa though, right? But Africa is dominating the list, according to FocusEconomics.com. Second, South Sudan. Third, Sierra Leone. Fourth, Malawi. Fifth, Madagascar. Sixth, Central African Republic. Seventh, Burundi. These are the African countries. Eighth, Mozambique. Ninth, Niger. Tenth, the what is it? The Democratic Republic of the Congo. Is that what it is? DR Congo. 11th, Somalia. That I'm kind of shocked at. I don't know why, but that kind of strikes me because, as we know, Somalia is where they're claiming Punt was. That's the and that now they're giving Punt historical date of about 2900 BC. Although Egypt is 3400 BC, the Egypt began in the Americas. But the culture known as Egypt, whatever we call it, it began in the Americas and then it moved when the 18th dynasty, after a war, according to Horace Butler, we were warring. So we were not friends with those people those Egyptians that were our people, right? And we can't deny that. But the break was so severe that they were expelled. They have a history of being expelled, okay? So once they are expelled with the 18th dynasty, they head to Somalia. And then they start to say they originated around that area. I'm sorry, Indians. I know you don't like to hear this. I'm not thrilled with the connection. The message could be, yes, we expelled them. Where they went, that was none of our concern. They had to go though. And so yes, it's looking like this priesthood ended up, it is. It's not looking, it is. They ended up building, this is what Horace Butler's telling us, y'all, a second Egypt in Africa. But that Egypt now has to replant itself because they don't want to be it to be known that they are expellees. So now they turn to Somalia. And at that time, they're saying they had a lot of resources that, so um, those are the people that civilized Africa. It was a priesthood, y'all. They were a dynasty. Now they had established themselves as a dynasty, but once we got rid of dynasties, we became more of a tribal people, obviously. We didn't want the big fancy dynastic thing anymore. And that's why you find China and then picks up a dynasty and they're everywhere except the Americas. Um, it could be that the world might want to say, well, because of you, we got these damn uh Moors. Yes and no. Um, we were not the type of people that were looking to harm physically, do away like the Moors are. Obviously, the Moors are willing to kill for their monotheistic tradition. We didn't do that, although we were highly offended by what they were doing with our ancestors and the spiritual system. They had to go. Horace Butler says it was a civil war, but it was obviously a religious war. Okay, it was obviously that. Akhenaten was known as a heretic to us because of the religion, not for civil anything. If what it might have been was he's one of the first people to have this idea of the divine right of kings, where he had the Amen priesthood behind him, the most powerful priesthood. They had become so powerful. That was the goal. Priesthoods were not that powerful before the Amen priesthood. What did the Amen priesthood? They created that deity. There was no Amen. There was Ra. There was Min. There was no Amen. And I had to get real with that. So that was one of my videos. I'm talking about Amen like he's, top dog and stuff. I learned. It's okay. I got it wrong. I got that wrong. We all have been fooled by this. You know, but what happens is the ancestors come along, you have an awakening, and little by little, the pieces start coming together. So I'm just a little surprised that Somalia is on this. I don't know why. Anyway. The 12th is Liberia. That's one of those places where a lot of Americans were dumped to. A lot of American Indians were, being sold. Oh, go back to Africa. We never were in Africa. But once you had this Liberia and I guess similar places where we were brought to, now you're saying we originated from there. And that's why probably the African Union had these crazy ideas. They're not really going by history. They're just going by bits and pieces that they could sling together and say that we're African. The 13th is Mali. That's another shocker. Because wasn't that Mansa Musa the richest man? Yeah, that was just him. A more, just him, not the country, just him. And that's what a lot of I think what's going on here is it's only the leaders that are getting their feet kissed by a pope and all of that. So they're the kings and queens, right? Or whatever. So the people are like serfs. 14th is Chad. 15th is Burkina Faso. 16th is the Gambia. 17th is the Sudan. 18th is Guinea-Bissau. I don't know what that. 19th is Rwanda. 20th is Nigeria. And that's your list, y'all. That's the list of the poorest countries in the world, according to focuseconomics.com. Now, we are not trying to shame Africa. In fact, American Indians have had their share of living sub par conditions. This is not about shaming people for a condition or a situation. But the thing is, we don't want that to be used in a way that suggests that either we're responsible for it or we can fix it or we have an no. You have to figure out what is causing, who is causing, why are the leaders, what are they, how are they mismanaging your resources? That's what I want to say. Because it said that you have resources. Uh, Although I brought up that in the last video, um, when I say something like that, I really am directing it toward the Moors. When I talk about curses, I'm really directing that toward the people who always speak in terms of people being cursed, people being damned, and all of that, needing salvation. So I, what I'm saying is the element that gets not just expelled from the Americas, but expelled pretty much everywhere. They are the ones that are bringing the whatever would be a curse. And it's because they are still against the ancestors. Yeah, as of today, if their origin was, say, polytheistic, that means it involved honoring many ancestors. Once they go, now see, I'm not saying people who were really, ah boy, that's a tough one because most indigenous people of everywhere were polytheistic. So it becomes a bigger question that people they're just gonna have to really look at this because it's looking to me that indigenous people, now you got to think of what is an indigenous person generally. Although, I have issues with certain words like indigenous, but we're using it here for convenience. Indigenous people are going to be seen as the first people of that land. So that's the caveat of being polytheistic because it is from your culture where you're getting this diversity. But if someone wants to mono you, make you part of some other bigger grouping, somewhere in there you're losing your birthright indigenous standing because you're cutting off your aunt. What I hate to say it, y'all. What monotheism ends up being is a genocide of a people's ancestors for either one or someone else's ancestor. It's you're being forced to honor a questionable deity that could be from your people or could be not. But the bottom line is you're still being cut off from your ancestors by being monotheistic. So you go from a birthright people to a people that are mostly condemned by your ancestors because you've given them up. And you have a priesthood that's encouraging you to do so. So we're going to leave on that thought. I'm going to have to get ready to leave soon. And I don't want this to be another video. So we're going to leave it here. Thank you again for your time. It's a tough topic, but American Indians are at a crucial point in our evolution. We have to have these hard conversations because we got to know where we came from and where we're going, who is sort of helping us to get there, you might say, or who is not. Just have to know. Uh, you again, till next time, be and stay American.